makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp at Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and of course, iHeartRadio. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. And I do encourage people who are out there to please share us with your friends. It is Monday, and on Monday we like to celebrate all the wonderful things that cannabis can do for our bodies, minds, spirits, and souls. So we bring on as our joint host, Lynn Mathre and Byrne from Patients at a Time. Good morning.
Well, hi, guys. Thank you for inviting us on again, Casper, after all these years and only being invited on for 10 weeks. I guess we're doing pretty good, huh?
You are doing fantastic.
Folks, this is... go ahead. I'm sorry, Casper.
Oh, I just said you are doing fantastic.
Thank you, sir. This is about Patients at a Time. You can find information about that organization at www.medicalcannabis.com or www.patientsoutaftime.org. Either location will take you to the information about medical cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. It will bring you to a web page that will allow medical professionals, nurses, doctors, etc., to take online accredited courses about the use of cannabis medically and the endocannabinoid system. There is a fee, but it's a small one for the information. It's about 1 credit hour of work for every hour that you take. Patients at a Time also has a continuing series of accredited medical cannabis conferences. The next one will be held this coming April, likely in Baltimore, Maryland. We'll have more details as that comes to fruition. But again, medicalcannabis.com or patientsoutaftime.org. You will find all kinds of information, and we'll refer to a few things as we go through the show. Our last national conference was held this past May in West Palm Beach, Florida. We went there specifically to try and influence the discussion in Florida about the medical uses of cannabis. Florida does have a CBD oil law, which regular listeners to this show will understand that Patients at a Time, while it appreciates that CBD oil can help a few patients, it is really not a medical cannabis law, and it is not a good medical cannabis product. And we'll discuss that as we go. Today we do have a friend of ours who hails from Jupiter, Florida. He is not a medical cannabis expert per se because he's an attorney. But he does have great knowledge of the subject matter, and he has been working very thoroughly within the political and legal community in Florida for quite a while now to make it a better place. In other words, to get medical cannabis legalized down there, and legalized especially for the use of our veteran community, which Tom Ryan works with quite a bit. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much, Al. I appreciate it, and as always, I appreciate everything that you and Mary Lynn do, because you've been pushing a large boulder up a very steep hill for many years, and slowly but surely the hill is becoming less steep, and it's through your efforts. We have had.
You're right.
It'll get there, and then once it starts going downhill, they won't believe how fast the momentum gains. So
I agree with you, and I think it's the top of the hill, frankly. But I'm thinking nationally. But we want to talk specifically about Florida. What about Florida, Tom? Are we at the top of the hill, still going up? What's going on down there?
Everyone would like you to believe we're at the top of the hill, but no, we're not. We had the Amendment 2 that failed. It came close, but at the last minute, Mr. Edelson came in and put a lot of money in to make sure that it didn't pass, and he ran an effective campaign. The amendment is being reintroduced as an even more narrow amendment by the Morgan Law Firm again, and I appreciate the time and effort they put in, but I don't think the law they're trying to pass is very good, but that will be on the national election. There's another one following up behind it that Florida Can is trying to get the signatures for, and that is a decriminalization bill on all, so it's not just a medical, it's a complete decriminalization bill. And I think amendment. And if that amendment is on the ballot, there could be some confusion, but I think that if we can get the people to vote for the medical and they run a good campaign, anybody that would be for Amendment 2 will also be for that. And if they both pass, then the Amendment 2 type won't matter, because medicinal won't matter if it becomes decriminalized. The other place we're at in Florida is they passed 1030, Senate Bill 1030, 19 months ago. Well, it was supposed to take effect 19 months ago in January, after a lot of time on TV with the state legislature. All of the congressmen, all of the senators were getting TV time talking about the Compassionate Care Act and their love for children and how important it was. And I think they spent more time on keeping the Senate in session so they could get in front of their cameras than they put into the actual trying to get the bill written. The regulations have failed 3 times so far, and at this point they're supposed to be able to pick the 5 growers who will become the growers of the low THC, high CBD strains. My understanding is as soon as they pick the 5, there'll be lawsuits filed, and it'll be tied up for another couple of years. And the model that they've got is not a model that is economically sustainable. So they got a lot of good TV time, and they sounded compassionate, but they've done nothing to help the children. It's the only thing we have. Go ahead.
Stay with this 5 thing. That's in business language, that's called an oligarchy. That's really not part of how we run our country financially. What's the deal there?
Well, the deal is that we had a big problem with pill mills in Florida, and the way they solved it was they put 5 clearinghouses in Florida, and with those 5 clearinghouses, all the pills in Florida had to come through those 5 clearinghouses and then out to the pharmacies. Otherwise, the state had no way of knowing how many pills were coming into the state. And that's how they were able to solve that problem. Well, it's a totally different animal. It made no sense. But they decided, well, then let's have 5 growers, because 5 was the number that worked with that. It had nothing to do with common sense. It was apples to oranges, and I really think that at the beginning they thought they were going to be able to just pick the 5 growers, pick friendlies, and if done right, it would make money and they'd get campaign contributions from their friends. But instead, they just ended up with a mishmash that doesn't work. They were going to have nurserymen. You had to be a nurseryman who had been in business for 30 years to be able to get a license. Well, the black nurseryman didn't like that, because 30 years ago, a black nurseryman, or a black farmer couldn't get a nursery license in Florida. It just didn't happen. It was a good old boy network. So they were eliminated. A lot of people were eliminated, and the fact is the farmers or the nurserymen all grow things outside under shade cloth or indirect sunlight. They know nothing about marijuana. Well, I can't say none of them know about marijuana, but none of them admit to knowing anything about marijuana, and none of them admit that they've ever grown it. And if you want a pharmaceutical grade with the temperatures we have in Florida, it's going to be grown indoors, and none of them grow indoors. They don't know a thing about it. So it looked really good on TV. We're going to have nurserymen. We're going to care for the kids. It was all PR with no intention of ever actually doing anything. It just look good.
Well, it sounds that way, yeah, and it is a farce. Not only is CBD oil not effective for probably 99.999% of the patients that would use cannabis, but what you describe as far as horticultural attention to detail for a medical grade plant obviously is not going to be there. Okay, so that idea is bogus. Let's go to your disagreement with the amendments between Mr. Morgan's proposal and what Florida Can is doing. Well, give us a little more detail on that, Tom.
And maybe a little comparison of what Amendment 2 that failed compared to what his new proposal is.
Yeah, can you draw all that together for the listeners?
Certainly. The old Amendment 2 was... It named certain infirmities or illnesses that you could get treatment for, and it left out some. It left out PTS, or as you would say, PTS, as most people say it, PTSD. It left that out. It left out a lot of illnesses that we know it is helpful for it. People with sleep problems, people with chronic pain, but there were others. The new bill even slims it down and takes out some of the disease, and I can't off the top of my head remember exactly which ones, but it just makes it it makes the steps for the patients who have these debilitating diseases much harder to finish, to succeed, to get their medicine. And it's set up for a system where a few people are going to get rich, and it's set up as a business model for rich people. It's not set up as a caregiver model, and it has nothing in it for caregivers. There are no caregivers. There's no longer, it doesn't give any right for people to grow their own. If they don't have the money and they just want to grow their own, it doesn't have that in it. And so the new bill is even more restrictive than that in the fact that it's narrowed the field of the treatable diseases that it had before, which was already too restrictive. Now, the Florcan bill is, as I said, that is a decriminalization, so it can be regulated. They can license it. So if you want to grow as a caregiver, if you want to grow commercially, whatever it is you want to do, they can have licenses, but there's no criminal activity. It's no different than growing roses. You know, they can regulate it, but there's no criminal activity there. And that's where the bill really belongs, so the people don't have to worry. And I know both of you know this, what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of the people who need these medicines and a lot of the parents who have children who need these medicines are under huge amounts of stress. And having all these rules and regulations just adds to the stress. And it's, adding stress to sick people is a cruel thing to do, and it is what the bureaucrats love to do and intend to do.
Well, none of these, the Florida Can position sounds very, very workable. The other ones don't sound reasonable at all. Boy.
And are they both amendments to the point that if they then come up for vote, is this once again that they need 60% of the vote?
Yes, they will both need 60%, and as you know, we got 58% last time, but last time was not a presidential election. We're expecting a bigger turnout, a voter turnout, and because of that, we believe that our chances of success are much higher. It just seems that some of the voters who don't come out on the legislative elections that do come out for the presidential elections seem to be more leaning towards the legalization.
Well, it'd certainly be following the national trend. I mean, we now deal with D.C., and I think it's 23 states, plus a couple of territories who have either a medical cannabis law, which it may not be active, but the law is there, or we have total legalization. And, we'll come back to all this. We've got to take a break here, Tom, but I don't like the sound of any of it, really. It seems to me that the Florida legislators are as ignorant now as they were 3 or 4 years ago about the subject matter, and or your assessment is right on the money where Florida has always had the reputation of having a pretty crooked government, and it sounds like it's meeting up with its reputation. Anyway, we're going to have to take a break here, and folks, we'll be back in just a few minutes with Mr. Tom Ryan, an attorney from Jupiter, Florida. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the work that Tom has done with for Florida veterans. So come on back in a few minutes, if you will.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Zigzag, hold it up, roll it up, tighter and tighter, grab your lighter, flick it, pull the smoke, be cool, don't show. let it out. That's what getting high is all about. Look through the bottoms of your eyelids. Feel like you did when you was a little kid. Happy, positive, and mellow. Spreading love on to the next fella. Oh, lady, I look like I'm shady, cause my eyes are redder than Grady. You know the boys from my neighborhood. We look real bad, but we feel so good.
And if I'm old and gray, and I live alone,
what you gonna do, homeboy?
I smoke marijuana.
I'ma be right there with you. Come on.
And in my garden, I will grow my own.
You gonna grow it? Hey.
Marijuana.
Sing it. Come on.
Oh, marijuana.
Hey, speaking of which.
Oh, marijuana.
Can you pass that over here, please?
I got my ganja.
I'm about to get my ganja. Yeah.
Dread like a rasta. Come on, dread it like a rasta.
Come on.
Oh, I got my ganja.
I'm finna get the blunt. Yeah, man.
Dread like a rasta.
Let me hit it one time.
Oh, how I wish I was in Jamaica.
Alright, we can go there.
We dread like a rasta.
Yeah, man. I got my ganja.
Dread like a rasta.
What's up? Yeah.
Marijuana. Gonna burn it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Marijuana. Gonna burn it up, yeah. Marijuana. Gonna burn it up, yeah.
Yeah, we are going to burn it up here on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Just a reminder, we are no longer just an hour broadcast, but we have grown into becoming a large network that's being heard all around the world. Joining our network, Mark Emery this week is beginning his weekly broadcast on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. In a couple of weeks, Skunk Magazine will also be on each week, sharing with you what's going on in between their pages. We've also got plans to be growing on the website live an entire garden from seed to smoke, so you can tune in and watch a group of people clean up a big greenhouse and then plant a whole bunch of plants and then see how the seeds germinate, grow into a lovely tall plant, and then blossom out and then give us something to enjoy. And so make sure to share with your friends that we are growing marijuana on our site. So we have a lot of groovy things happening at the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. And you'll find people like Judge James Gray and Andrea Herman and myself and Mary Lynn Mathre and Al Byrne and all of our friends trying to inform you why it's so important to end prohibition. This ends my flagrant self-promotion on the network, but it's something we need to do so that people know what's happening here at Time for Hemp. Mary Lynn and Al, I pass this joint chat back to you and our joint friends.
Thanks, Casper. That's going to be exciting, I think. If I'm hearing you right, going on the website, people will be able to tune in and literally watch from seed to full plant growth.
Exactly.
I think that's excellent because, healthcare professionals, I'll run into people and they have never seen the plant. Yeah, I mean, they're so clueless about, this natural plant.
Well, we are being given
a lot
access.
of people don't know it's a plant. And I think that the idea that you're stressing that it's a plant by actually showing people it's a plant that is going to be made into a medical protocol of some kind is excellent. And we'll stress again for the listeners what Tom, Ryan, and Mary Lynn and I are discussing here is a plant, an herb that has great medicinal value. We just don't even know yet how great that value is, but it does seem at this point to be very, very valuable to not only human health, but the health of just about every living creature on Earth. Keep in mind from our past programs here, if you've paid attention, that everything on Earth, excepting insects, have an endocannabinoid system, which is directly affected by the intake of compounds from the herbal plant called marijuana or cannabis. So if you just think about the food you eat, the meat, the protein, the chickens, the ducks, and the beef, and whatever. All of those critters have eaten something. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they ate a plant that gave them better health, which in turn, after the sacrifice of their lives for us, gave us even better health?
Absolutely.
Think about the ramifications of how not just medical cannabis, but hemp as a food, cannabis as a food, can affect the entire spectrum of life here. And as Jack Herr once said, hey, maybe we can even replace fossil fuels, and hemp will make it happen or help. So we're getting a little diversion here, but thanks for that, Casper.
Oh yeah, but let me also
Tom Ryan, and we've been talking.
Let me also.
We continue to do so. Listen, I went to bed. I got a little bored with Ringling Brothers there.
The Republican debate.
Yeah, that's what I meant, the Republican debate. But I understand that ex-Governor Jeb Bush just stood there in front of the international audience and told a lie. Is that right, Tom?
Well, he said that he was the one who was responsible for bringing the medicinal marijuana into Florida, and that was just plain, well, I can't say it was 100% untrue. He may have had some on his plane and brought some back for himself. That he might have done. He might have brought medicinal marijuana into Florida that way. But as far as the legalization goes, no, he did not have anything to do with it. 1030 happened under Governor Scott. Before that, we did not have any bills passed for medicinal marijuana, and as I said before, 1030 passed the legislature and was signed into law by Governor Scott, but they can't figure out how to write the regulations, so of course it's still illegal. So the only legal products we have in this state are under our medical necessity law, and that was Jenks and Elvie Museka, and that got that done, and Kathy Jordan that got that done. That was not anything to do with Governor Bush. He just made it up.
He just made it up.
Yeah.
He just made it up. Hey, well, how'd it go, Jebby? I wonder if he got to be president of the United States, what the hell would he make up?
Yeah, when he knows 58% of the people in Florida voted for it, he wants to be on that side.
Yeah, I think it's curious, though, don't you, Tom? Yeah, I mean, Marilyn's point, well taken. Here's a guy who had nothing to do with legalization of cannabis or medical cannabis in Florida, yet he's willing to lie about having had some power there to help that happen. It's almost an indication, is it not, that some of these Republicans actually can see the handwriting on the wall, that they're on the wrong side of history here?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And what they're trying to do is to be on both sides. They want to keep the far right. Well, actually, it's not the far right. They want to keep the religious right, who is against marijuana because of reasons I don't know, but because I don't know what it has to do with religion, but the religious right's against it. So to them, they say that they're against it, but to the other people, they say, oh, well, actually, I passed the law when they didn't. They're politicians, and they have absolutely no ethical code. They just want votes, and they don't care if they accomplish anything or not other than getting elected, as best I can see. The funny thing is...
All right, well, anyway...
Go ahead.
I was just, those who listen to the show, ex-Governor Jeb Bush had nothing to do in Florida with the legalization of the medical use of cannabis. He said he did, he lied. That's flat out. Now, Tom Ryan has had something to do with helping veterans in Florida. He's not the kind of guy that brags about it. But I would like you, please, to explain. Let me explain a little bit. In the United States of America, a veteran like myself and Mary Lynn and Casper can be treated in a VA facility for whatever our problem may be. If we live, and we use cannabis for whatever reason, we use it. We can be treated in the VA facility in any state which has made cannabis medically legal. Again, 23 states, District of Columbia, territories, etc. However, in a state like Florida, according to the VA rules, that's not really a medical cannabis law we have in Florida. So although I'm a resident of Franklin County and Mary Lynn is a resident of Franklin County, and we're both in the American Legion, and I'm in the VFW, I use cannabis, I go to a VA hospital in Florida, and they are likely to call security and run me out of the place. But Tom has another answer. Tell him what you've been messing around with there, Tom.
I'll be glad to. But just to emphasize a couple things. One, in Florida, if you're being treated by the VA and they find out that you've got marijuana in your system, they will give you a warning. This has always been the system. And if you ever come back and pass or fail the test again, they don't just quit treating you, they quit treating you forever. You lose all of your benefits forever. That's been their position. So I took them on head on and in Florida, and I would call them up and say, okay, there's a patient who's a veteran, and I, by the way, I'm a veteran, but there's a patient who's a veteran who has a disease and he needs to use cannabis, and they would just hang up on me. These are the patient advocates. As soon as I said either cannabis or marijuana, they would hang up on me. So I kept calling and calling and calling different departments, and finally I got to the preacher's office, and they actually listened and didn't hang up and told me I should go to the patient advocate. When they found out they were hanging up on me, they sent me straight to legal, and legal said, no, you can't use it in Florida. If you use it in Florida, you'll lose your rights. And I said, that's okay, that's what I understood. And I asked them to send me that in writing, signed by whoever was sending me that notice. And I informed them that I was going to file a attempted murder lawsuit in federal court against them because the person happened to have a disease that without cannabis would die. And that they were aware of that, and they were stopping him from getting his medicine. And within 20 minutes, I got a letter from them saying that the state of Florida had reversed its stance on veterans in Florida, and from now on, if a veteran gets a medical recommendation, which you have to go to an outside doctor to get it, but if you get a medical recommendation from a doctor, you have to notify the VA that you have that so they can change their treatment as is necessary because of the additional medicine, but they can't do anything to stop your benefits. I thought it was kind of funny because you have to tell them that you're using it so they can change what they're doing, but by law, the veterans, doctors working for the VA can't take into account that you're using marijuana, and they're not given any classes on it, so you have to tell them, but they can't do anything about it, but they pretend that they're doing something about it. It's a real strange world, but the fact is now veterans can use it, and any veteran in Florida who's already lost his rights, if he gets a doctor's recommendation, may now get his rights reestablished and get his benefits back again. And I think that's huge. We've got to get the word out on that.
Yeah, well, that is huge. And I might argue the point here, and I'm not sure you're going to disagree with me, but the state of Florida's Veterans Administration decision was illegal to begin with. The use of a Schedule I drug, any illegal drug, is not cause for loss of any benefits for any veteran. In fact, it's against the medical ethics code of the VA itself. And this is what Marilyn and I and Mike Kravitz fought with the VA about prior to 2010 for about 3 years. And interestingly enough, you went to the legal people to solve the problem. So did we at the national level. We also included, however, got great help from the Veterans Administration Ethics Department. And it was the combination of the attorneys and the ethics folks that looked into, just as you did, looked in and said, well, show me this in writing, this policy. And when we asked the question over and over, and they never did, they couldn't show it in writing because it did not exist. What everybody was working with then, and apparently some people in Florida still are, is a myth. Is a directive that never existed. But the directive that exists now is quite clear. It says that veterans can use cannabis therapeutically, and that use of cannabis shall be included in their medical protocol if they live in a state which is legal. So my thought to my listeners that are living out there in the United States in states that aren't legal, if you really want to support veterans, call up your representatives and your senators and say, look, our veterans can't use cannabis because you won't pass a medical cannabis law, if for no other reason but to help the vets pass the law. I'm a veteran. We're all veterans. Most of us on these shows are veterans. I don't think it's fair that Tom or I or Mary Lynn should receive any medical treatment from the Veterans Administration based on our zip code, based on geography. It is unethical, illogical. It's just plain wrong and stupid. And Tom, I'm so happy you've done that, but let's repeat that again, Tom. Any veteran in Florida who has been wronged in this way, finding a Florida physician who will give him or her a recommendation, not a prescription, but a recommendation, can get these rights back. Am I correct?
You are correct. So, it's
the
long-term effect is huge.
Say again?
The long-term effect is huge because there's, when you're a veteran and you've lost your rights, it's kind of when you lose your rights, you quit going there. So getting the words out to these people is going to be difficult, but it's a matter of getting the word to the veterans to get the words to other veterans they know. Because if you're not, as a matter of fact, I think the next step, and I hadn't even thought about this till now, is to notify the VA that any of their veterans that they kicked out have to be notified that they can be, it's up to the VA to notify them that they have the right to have their rights restored. As I think about it, I think that's my next letter.
Go for it. I'll sign it with you. I think that's the least that should happen. I mean, if a car manufacturer has a faulty switch, everybody gets notified and they get to come in and get the faulty switch repaired for free. These guys and girls that have been shoved out the door, part of that letter ought to be an apology.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As we all know, saying when we all know that if you've got a medical problem and they cut off your treatment, it exacerbates the medical problem, and a lot of these people have been seriously physically hurt because of their treatment or their inability to get treatment and not having the funds to get it because they gave up so much for the country, and now they can't work, can't get jobs, and they've had their rights illegally cut off. The VA owes them quite a bit.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many of the 22 suicides a day are people that have been put in this position by this myth. It's a crazy place.
It's so sad. It's unbelievable.
Well, with that said, we're going to take a commercial break and pay our bills, and then we're going to hurry right back here at Time for Hemp. Listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.
is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Yeah, really, that's the whole thing here at Time for Hemp, is we're trying to let all of the governing representatives know that it's a plant that grows from the earth. It can't run after you and chase you and kill you and mug you and knife you. If you happen to wander into a big field of it, you're not going to come out of there itchy and scratchy as if you had fallen into a patch of poison ivy. If you eat it, it's not going to kill you like some plants will. I mean, it just stands there when you walk by it, so you can't say it's a threat to you in any way if you just leave it alone. That's all I'm saying here at Time for Hemp. Alan, Mary Lynn?
Well, thanks, Casper, for letting us know that hemp doesn't lurch at you when you walk by and grab you like obviously some people think.
We're having this war against it as if we're tracking it down and hunting it, and they make it sound like it's this evil killer. It's like, oh my God, it's a monster.
Yeah, like the Venus flytrap or something.
Exactly.
I remember with fondly Corinne, that might not be a name familiar to most people, but Corinne was one of the first 5 patients to receive her medical cannabis from the federal government. Corinne, when she received the cannabis, was in a wheelchair for pain, basically arthritis, rheumatism, but she received her cannabis for glaucoma. She was a widow. Her husband had been a medical doctor. She was one of the first 5. And she's featured, by the way. You can find this film on Google Video and YouTube. It's called Marijuana is Medicine. It was created by Marilyn and I and a few other folks back in 1987, I guess it was.
92. What was
it? 92. Okay, 92. Won awards, got a Sundance Film Festival award. It was the first film video made about medical cannabis probably ever. And Corinne was in it, and at one point she looks at the camera and says, I do not understand why everybody in this country is so afraid of a plant. And we don't either. And especially this plant has such therapeutic value. As I mentioned before in the show, it interacts perfectly with our bodies and every other creature's living body through the use it interacts with our endocannabinoid system, and that system is present in every organ of our body. It's in our skeleton, it's in our brains, it's in our skin, it's in our liver, kidneys, etc. And so cannabis affects us, and it affects our children, it affects our parents and our siblings and our friends. And your doctor and nurse should know about all of this, and they don't. But they can. If they go to medicalcannabis.com, patientsatatime.org, as I said, there are courses, some long, some short, that they can take, accredited courses. They need this information and education each year anyway to keep their licenses current. One more address, the medicalcannabisinstitute.org. That's another address where Patients at a Time has these accredited conferences available. The medicalcannabisinstitute.org. So in Florida, Tom, post-traumatic stress, and here I go again, you will hear folks say PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, those of us that have studied the issue, that are veterans that have been diagnosed with this particular problem, would rather you call it post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress syndrome or something like that. We don't consider it a disorder at all. In fact, neither do medical professionals that know what they're talking about. It's post-traumatic stress is a perfectly normal reaction to stress that has abnormals. So it's a normal reaction to an abnormal precursor. Let's put it that way. And so anyway, we like post-traumatic stress. But that being said, Tom, post-traumatic stress, as I understand it, is not part of the reasons that a person could use cannabis in Florida anyway, right? So even if they passed a law, veterans with post-traumatic stress, probably TBI, would be left behind anyway, right?
That is correct. Other than the Florican, which makes it decriminalizes. For that, it works. For everything else they're doing, every bill they're putting through that deals with medical, they're leaving out post-traumatic stress, and it's just that just shows absolutely no respect for the veterans, because they don't deny that it happens. They don't deny that it's 22 suicides a day, and the medicines that they give these veterans, instead of having them use cannabis, all have warnings on them that they may cause death, they may cause your liver to fail, and they're taking numbers of these different drugs, and they all say may cause suicidal tendencies. Well, if I've got post-traumatic stress and you give me 3 or 4 pills a day to take that may cause suicidal tendencies, and you think that that's better than having me use cannabis, which it does have the side effect of euphoria or of happiness. You know, the medical field seems to believe that.
We don't want you happy. We don't want you happy. We want to keep you pissed off at the VA.
Yeah, you know, the worst thing the doctors can do is cure people, because if they cure people, they're out of business. So if you can give somebody a pill that has a side effect that can be cured with another pill that has a different side effect that can be cured with another pill, well, now you got a guy taking 3 different pills, and you get to sell them to him every day. And if it's through the VA, the pharmaceutical companies love it, because they don't get paid by the veterans, they get paid by the Veterans Administration. So they just get these huge checks and keep sending these pills in, saying this is what we want you to give them. I mean, they've got asking a barber if you want a haircut, you always hear yes. Asking the pharmaceutical company, should we give these patients these pills, you always hear yes, and we've got an extra one too. And that's who they're asking. That's who's doing the diagnosing, is the pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly right. Right, exactly right. And you know, a lot of physicians complain that cannabis has too many chemicals in it, and yet they've never conducted studies on adding on the results of multiple polypharmacy. You know, giving them an opiate for pain and a mood stabilizer and something else to help with their memory. Those drugs, the interactions, and you're right. Almost every one of them have what we call a black box warning level. Not only suicidal ideation, but it might be homicidal ideation. So
yeah, but what you got here, let me get on my box. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again until somebody out there that really understands that they look so stupid. I got to say that since I live in Florida, I pay a lot of attention to who these people are, and not who they represent, but who they are. And I know who they are. For one thing, they're attorneys and they're law enforcement professionals that have become politicians for the most part. I'm excluding such wonderful guys as Jeff Clemens, but for the most part, they're lawyers and they're cops and they're practicing medicine without a license in Florida, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, when they pass those laws.
And then they pass these stupid laws that are dictating how I can be treated in a medical facility in Florida for my ailment, like they ever went to medical school. What kind of hubristic crap is that? And then on top of that, I got to land on top of the Florida Medical Association and the Florida Nurses Association and anybody else that's a professional in Florida in the healthcare community that isn't out there objecting vocally and everywhere about the not only the disrespect shown the veterans and what they're telling these cops and robbers, but also the disrespect they're showing their own medical community, and then the disrespect the medical community is showing the veterans by not learning about medical use of cannabis. To me, the whole thing is a gross example of hubris and ignorance rolled into one which does nothing for the sick in Florida at all. They all ought to be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves, and unfortunately they probably aren't. I'm off my rant.
Well, I don't think, I know I couldn't have said it that well, Al. I agree with you completely, and all we can do is keep fighting them one patient at a time, one law at a time, and we're just going to keep taking them down until we can get the right medicine to the people. And quit putting these people in jail. It's criminal to put the people in jail and break all the families up that they've done. That's what the Schaefer report said in 1972. And, the harm is putting people in jail and destroying families, not the medicine.
Yeah, that's real harm. Exactly, that's the real harm. And say, for any of you out there in Florida who need some legal help or whatever, or have questions about this, Tom, can you give out email or something so folks can get in touch with you if they want to?
Yes, it's Ryan, Ryan, T as in Tom, Law, that's Law, so Ryan T. Law at AOL.com. That shows how old I am.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And what is your specialty in law anyway, Tom?
For the last few years, the only thing I've been dealing with is marijuana law. I taught marijuana law in Colorado for a year. I actually wrote a few books on and did a comparative study of all 50 states. And then for a year and a half, I was in California, actually as a legal grower for dispensaries. So since 2010, I've just been in the marijuana law field.
Yeah, well, good. And we need more guys like you. And I know we talked, you were at our conference there in West Palm Beach this past year, as were a number of other attorneys. And I think that's helpful that you and others like you are beginning to teach newbies into the field about what you've learned and what is good tactics, what is good law. But I certainly like the way you have personally challenged the VA, asked some tough questions, got the answers, and have. I like the way you intimidated them, Tom. I think that went really well. And with that said, we got about a minute here. We got to quit. But please keep up that work in Florida. As always, Marilyn and I will stand behind you and help you any way we could possibly do it. And we all know there's some really good veterans in Florida. So any veterans listening, go online and look up a webpage called Veterans United. It's a Florida-based, Tampa-based organization run by a friend of Tom and Marilyn and I, Bob Jordan. So listen, Tom, thanks again for coming on board, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and anyone who wants to contact me or any Veterans Association that wants to speak or something, please give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And folks, we'll be back same time, same place next week. We'll also have our own show, of course, at high noon on Wednesdays on Time for Hemp, where we'll talk to patients and cannabis experts from around the world. And then, until then, for Patients Out of Time, this is Al Byrne. Take care.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent.
Since 1990, over 9 million people have broken the rules and got arrested for pot. That's more than the population combined from Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, and even Vermont. Man, that sure seems like a lot. In 2005, over 750,000 American citizens got busted with weed. What burns holes in my tent is 86% were arrested for possession. But what I can't believe is one of those people was me. So what can we do about legalization but rally around and reform legislation that state our position and make it our mission? A change in the law is what we need. It's time we legalize weed. Chief Greenbud is spouting about prison overcrowding, using words like reform, rally, and change. Why should we do time for a victimless crime? Marijuana isn't evil, but it's taking the blame. Don't you think that it's time for a change? So what can we do about legalization but rally around and reform legislation that state our position and make it our mission? A change in the law is what we need. It's time we legalize weed. Let's make it our mission, state our position. Change in the law is what we need. It's time we legalize weed. Yeah, it's time we legalize weed.